So see, here's the thing. Besides speaking about narcissism, I I don't like to consider myself a motivational speaker, but I speak to youth groups all the time. I get calls, I travel, I speak. That's what I do. But I don't talk about it because I got shifted into this narcissism thing. And so I kind of like hadn't done the speaking to children in a while. But I speak to youth groups. I go to boys and girls homes. I talk to Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, high schools, colleges. I do all of that about my life, my lifestyle. And it's not just about my first book, Broken. It's about how did I go from this broken kid that was addicted to porn, that was molested and raped, to serving 32 years in the military, leading hundreds of thousands of people. How did I do that?
It's a success story. It really, truly is, Leon. And you should be very proud of yourself, honestly.
I am. I'm just humble now. And, I just thought I don't talk about being proud, but I am.
Good. Well, just continue to do what you're doing. Continue to do, helping these boys because they need it. And you speak from experience, and that's the best, those are the best conversations, the ones where the person has not been through what you're going through, just doesn't even make sense, really, especially when you're going through something that's so deeply, ingrained in who you are and in your future to come. So I appreciate it. I know that we were going to talk more also about just how, difficulties that you had within your marriage and what led up to your divorce.
Yeah. So when I got married, I wasn't ready to get married. I got married because I didn't want anybody to have her. She's a great woman.
How old were you?
Like 30, maybe 33, somewhere in there, between 30 and 33. She was a great woman.
Got married because I just cut you off, but I know you said that you got married because you didn't want anybody else to have her.
Right. Because I knew that she was she was better than the women that I'd had. At that time, I was dating various women, and my friend introduced me to her, and I was like, wow, like this. But she was wholesome. She had character, integrity. She had morals, and the women that I was dating prior to her didn't have character, integrity, or morals. They were like me, broken and dysfunctional. So I was like, well, let me try something different. I wasn't accustomed to anything different. I wasn't accustomed to having a good woman. I wasn't accustomed to doing right. I wasn't accustomed to being faithful. I wasn't accustomed to communicating. I was accustomed to dealing with the women that were like me, that were like the women that my father were dating. Smokers, drinkers, have sex, fight, and start over. And that was my norm. And that's what I was used to. So I meet this woman, my ex-wife, I'm like, wow, she's totally different. I was like, I don't like this, but I needed it, but I wasn't ready to change. I wasn't ready to make exchange. I wasn't ready to stop drinking and smoking. I wasn't ready to stop womanizing. So I tried it with her and it didn't work. And we got back together and I kept trying and trying. At that time, I was probably 10 years or so removed from my first bout with therapy. And I just implemented anything that I learned in therapy in my 20s. And so I just tried to make it work and it didn't work because I wasn't a better person. I wasn't trying to be a better person. I wasn't working on myself. I was a Navy recruiter. I was in the streets. I was whorish. I was dysfunctional. I was drinking a lot. And there was no way I was ready to be with a good, wholesome woman, So they say opposites attract, they do, but opposites subtract and opposites distract. And so attraction and the distraction. So she was dealing with attrition in our marriage and I ruined her life, So she was pretty. She had a degree. She didn't have any kids. She had her own house, own job, and her own car. But the women I've always dated were either pretty or good looking, or they weren't pretty. They had a beautiful personality. So I saw them as beautiful. And they had kids. They smoked, drank. They didn't have degrees. They may have had a car or they had an apartment. She was a total opposite of that. And so I couldn't find it in myself to change and be a better person for her or a good person, or to settle down with her and leave my past alone. My past was just too ingrained in me. Like you mentioned earlier, it was ingrained in me. And without therapy, and I tell women now, without therapy, he's not going to change. He's not going to be a better person. He'll start off, he'll do some things you like because he knows it's what you want, but it's not going to last because he doesn't have the foundation. He can rebuild his foundation like I did in therapy, but without that, his foundation is what it was as a child.
Yeah, there has to definitely be some acknowledgement and responsibility for for who you are, for all the damage you've caused. I mean, how can you move forward? This is just my opinion, without kind of just looking back at what you've done, you know, the fire you've torched and all the lives you've ruined, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. Hmm. And then the divorce, Leon. So did you find that you kind of repeated some of the same things that you saw in your own parents' separation and divorce?
Yeah, because my dad was a protector and provider, and I felt like all I gotta do is protect and provide, pay the bills, go shopping, car notes, cell phones, and provide, protect. There wasn't, I didn't see my mother and father,
In
being,
love.
hugging, kissing, and cuddling. I didn't see any of that. So I'm like, I don't have to do that. My father kept my mother around, and he didn't do that, so I'm not going to do it. But I was starving my ex-wife. I was starving my ex-girlfriends, and so yeah, I just thought that I saw repeating my dad's dating pattern, I repeat my dad's ways as a husband, and 31 years later, I wound up divorced myself.
Let me ask you this. Were you gone emotionally? And I know the answer to it, but had you left your marriage prior to your wife knowing that you had left?
Yeah, I left the marriage. We stayed married for 12 years, but emotionally, I was detached after the first year.
After the first
Because when you cheat, which I did when we were engaged, you're already emotionally attached. It's not going to come back until you say, you know what, I'm sorry. I'm going to change my ways. I am changing my ways, and I have changed my ways. If you don't do that, you're not going to be emotionally detached because you're already emotionally attached to somebody.
True. Very, very true. And so what were those times like just leading up to the actual divorce? What were you doing? Were you trying to fix things? Were you acting like you were trying to fix things? Were you running further away faster?
No, so I was running away faster because I kept saying, I want a divorce. But I didn't have a legitimate reason for wanting a divorce.
Mm.
My wife was mad at me. My wife didn't trust me because I created her to be that way by being a cheater.
Yeah.
So instead of going through marriage counseling, which we did once, and I walked out because I was still dark and I didn't want anybody to see my dark side. I didn't want to go into marriage counseling to fix the marriage because I didn't want to be married anymore because I couldn't be a husband. I didn't know how to be a husband. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, I want a divorce. And then, okay, she finally did it. But I created her to not trust me. I created her to have reservations towards me. I created her to be apprehensive about being open in bed with me. I did all of that. Mm-hmm. And so instead of me fixing myself and saying, I'm sorry, let's make this work, I never did that. What did I do? I ran. I ran from my insecurities. I ran from my being inept. I ran from my inability to be a husband. And what did I do? Call for divorce, make myself feel good. I just started you. You're not going to divorce me.
Right, right. And with the divorce itself, were you accommodating to her? Did you just kind of say, here, you can have everything? Did you want to keep everything for yourself? How did you?
I went through a couple of mind shifts. I'm like, all right, I want a divorce. And the next thing you know, I get divorce papers in hand. A couple of months later, and I was shocked. Now it's time to fight.
Yeah.
I want furniture. I don't want to pay child support. I want joint custody, physical custody. How could I do that? And I was living in Virginia. I was on the ship because I didn't want to pay child support. I didn't want to pay alimony. But I put myself in this predicament, this situation. So I'm going to have to take this L. But before I took this L to my wife, somebody that I didn't want to be married to, which I thought, I'm going to fight and see if I can change some things. Oh, yeah, you can get joint custody. When you have them, she'll pay you child support. When she has them, she'll pay, you pay her. When she has them, she'll pay you child support. When you have them, she'll pay you child support. Right? It wasn't even about being a good father. It was about trying to keep the money.
And to keep her from having the money, even though she was the mother of the children, to take care, and the care provider and care of your children. You'd rather her not have that money.
I'd rather her not have the money and me keep my money and have the visitation rights, and she can have the house and furniture. I'll start that over, but I don't want to take a financial loss. But when you cheat, when you destroy a marriage, you're going to take many losses, financial loss. You're going to take a spiritual loss. You're going to take a physical loss. You're going to take losses. It's going to start to affect your body, your mind, your soul, and your spirit, because I was the one that did wrong to a good person.
And the thing is, what we have to really keep in mind is that, yeah, you're taking a loss, but in actuality, so are the children. So was, in my situation, I can see that we have never, him nor myself, have ever rebounded to the point of success or, just a lifestyle of what we had when we were together. It was,
Right.
the lifestyle is just never, and maybe it is for others, but in many cases, it's never the lifestyle that you had for
No.
him, nor for the children, or for anyone really. So
Yeah.
you lose, everybody loses.
Everybody loses, and you don't think of, well, I thought about it and I was like, man, it's been 15 years and we never got back to where we were, because I screwed up on my vows. You know what I'm saying? It should have been holy matrimony, but it wasn't, It just, I destroyed it. And so I can't get back what I gave up. Absolutely. Unless I get remarried again. But if I remarry, I have to be a totally different person. And that's part of my journey now.
Absolutely. Most people, we have to also keep in mind that marriage is an institution of God. And so if you're going to destroy it, then how can God bless it? How can God bless you moving forward? So, yeah, I'm so sorry to hear all of that, because it's sad. Another Black African-American family destroyed, the children, they, like I said, everybody loses completely.
Everybody. Right.
But, God is good, and you can pick up. And if we can do things like you're doing now, to kind of make amends for that. Leads to my next question, which is, have you spoken to your wife? Have you been able to at least have that conversation of acknowledgement, responsibility, being apologetic?
Yeah. Over the years, we cool now. She came over today with her mom and her brother, and we're still pretty close. Me, her mom, her brother, we cool. We have a conversation. I can face them. For a long time, I couldn't face them. But people don't realize, when you cheat on somebody and then you get married, you cheat, you don't just hurt your wife or the woman. You don't just hurt your husband. You hurt their family, the mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters. There are second, third, and fourth orders of effect that come from my infidelity. Yeah. And for time, I didn't want to face that, because it was too harmful to face people that I hurt. It was too hurtful to face people that trusted in me, aside from my wife. And so, yeah, we cool now. I mean, we would have been cool for our whole marriage because she was cool. I wasn't cool.
Right. Yeah.
I wasn't settled mentally. I had issues and dysfunctions. So no, it's good for the children to see that mother and father get along. And, there was times when my ex-wife come over here and my two sons were in the house, and we talk about what happened, and we talk about old things. And so it was hurtful, it was painful, but my kids still suffer from the divorce. I see it in their eyes. I hear it in their voice. But now, we're cool. And I'm glad we got to that point, because I don't want to carry on this burden of hate and discontent because I caused it. I got to say, you know what? It was my fault. I'm sorry. I messed up,
Amen. There you go. Perfect. So Leon, as we close this conversation, it's been an awesome one. What tips, what things can you provide to our listeners in regards to narcissism and the effect it has on the marriage, obviously, and then the divorce and the afterlife?
Yeah. With narcissism, you're dealing with a person that's mentally sick, evil, that's comfortable with being disruptive, disrespectful. They're comfortable with not communicating. They are, for me, being an overt narcissist, he or she will be overbearing, very cocky, very arrogant, self-centered, egotistical, very experimental. And they lack courage. They're very inferior. They're sensitive. They have a fragile ego. You don't know these things until you start seeing little traits of it here and there, but you're like, what is that? What's going on? Why is he like that? Why is she like that? If they don't go into therapy because you suggest it, or a coworker suggests it, or the minister or pastor or first lady suggests it. They don't go into therapy because of people that they respect and love and care about. They don't go, your marriage is going to suffer. The kids are going to suffer. The home will suffer. It'll be a house, it won't be a home. I never volunteered to go into therapy. I was told by people that I worked for, people that I looked up to, people that I respected. I failed therapy twice. And the third time I went is when I set my butt down. I had to face Leon, because the therapist is going to talk about Leon. We're going to talk about Leon's past, Leon's mother, Leon's father, Leon's exes, Leon's dysfunction. Leon been abused. Leon was addicted to porn. Leon, let's talk about that. So if you're not ready to hear those things, if you can't take constructive criticism, it's not going to work. I walked out of therapy twice in 2014, in August and December. And so I was still the same person when I walked in and walked out. I walked out just as dysfunctional and as well. Mentally abusive, verbally abusive. And I walked out like, I'm still this awesome dude. I'm this great leader. I'm very successful. I'm the best man that you've ever had. Nobody compares to me. Until I sat down in front of a lady. All my therapists have been women. The first two psychotherapists, psychiatrists were women. The third one was a woman, and so ironic is it that everybody that I was abusing and neglecting and cheating on, the women, in my life, are the same type of women that were getting me together.
Yeah.
I had to face those women. All right, I'm here, let's do. And I'm like, man, but I don't think men tried to help me, but it just wouldn't stick. I didn't latch on to those guys. So I know God put me in front of women to get myself together, because I had to face the same species of people that I was hurting. So I had to see their, or get it from an educational perspective about why I am the way that I am. And so she made me reflect on a lot of things from my childhood, which I suppressed and blocked out for probably 30, 40 years.
Wow. Well, that was really good. I just know that you are a blessing. Your words are very wise, and our listeners are going to really appreciate hearing all of your candidness and honesty and forthcoming. And hopefully, we're on both sides of the spectrum. You, the narcissist, me, maybe the enabler. I don't know if I'm so much the enabler, but definitely a victim of narcissism.
Right.
So I know that there are women out there who need to hear what you say, and what you say all the time in your platforms. So just, let's keep up the mission.
I appreciate it. And, I didn't volunteer to start making these videos. Again, it was two women. It's like, Leon, you need to start. And I'm like, I can't get away from this, but okay, let me do it. Boom, here we are, so that's why I have a lot of love for women, a lot of respect for women. I was raised around a lot of strong Black women, and I go into military. I meet a lot of strong white women, Asian women, Latin women, Aboriginal women. And I'm like, man. So, I'm a true proponent of women.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my debt to society, specifically women, because those are the ones that I hurt. And so I have to right my wrongs. And yeah, there's some men that I hurt, some sailors that I led, I was rude to, dysfunctional with, verbally abusive to, but overall as a women, and I'm here to give back.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you.